So the United States is marking 21 years since the 9/11 tragedy. Today, the fateful day, of course, saw 4 coordinated attacks that took the lives of nearly about 3,000 people. And even after all these years, the American war on terror is still being fought elsewhere on a small piece of scrubland that is known as Guantanamo in the southeast of Cuba. The prison here is notorious for its human rights abuses. And till today, 39 detainees still remain here. It is seen as an unresolved legacy of the American war on terror. Take a look.
Located on the eastern tip of Cuba, this is the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, a sprawling 116 square kilometer facility that has emerged as the symbol of human rights abuses in America's war against terror in the 21st century. Exactly 4 months after the 9/11 attacks, the United States built a high-security prison here. Gitmo, as many know it, was meant to be a legal black hole. It was born out of necessity, but turned into a Frankenstein's monster. Within months of the attacks, the United States rounded up hundreds of people. All of them were said to have had suspected ties to Al-Qaeda. They were dropped in the US naval base and given the label of enemy combatants. This means they had no rights and would be tried in military courts.
So very early on, there was just a sense of global outrage over what the U.S. was doing in Guantanamo. Very early on, there were reports of detainees being mistreated, interrogated in brutal ways, and just the very notion of holding people indefinitely without charge just caused a lot of outrage in the world.
Guantanamo has proven to be both a headache and an embarrassment. Drawing charges of sweeping human rights abuses, the facility was rooted in CIA's notorious operation to seize Al-Qaeda suspects for secret rendition. Those arrested underwent intense interrogation and torture, including waterboarding that continued for days, weeks, and even years. Among the many detainees is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, a senior Al-Qaeda figure who's considered to be the architect of the 9/11 attacks. From the first 20 detainees in January 2002, their numbers ballooned to 780 in the coming years. But reviews showed the government had no evidence to tie many to Al-Qaeda or 9/11. Most of them were quietly released, though for some, that took a decade.
There was this really famous photo that the Pentagon released in the early, right as soon as they landed, with these detainees in these orange jumpsuits wearing, some of them were blindfolded when they came off the plane. They were kneeling on the ground in these like steel cages outside. And the steel cages were really interesting because it showed just how unprepared the U.S. was to hold hundreds of detainees on this sleepy Navy base in Cuba. I mean, they essentially weren't ready. They didn't have anything. There was no infrastructure there. They had these wooden huts where they did the interrogations.
Spanning 4 presidencies and nearly 20 years, the notorious facility still operates. Bush led 532 prisoners out. When Obama became president in January 2009, there were about 240 still in custody. He released 197 and ordered for Guantanamo's closure in a year.
For many years, it's been clear that the detention facility at Guantanamo Bay does not advance our national security. It undermines it. It's counterproductive to our fight against terrorists because they use it as propaganda in their efforts to recruit.
But the plea was blocked in the Congress when Donald Trump came to power. He vowed to keep the prison open, reversing Obama's order. Trump also released only 1 detainee, a Saudi who went back after striking a plea deal. Guantanamo is smaller and quieter now, but still, 39 prisoners remain here. President Biden turned the page on one legacy of 9/11 by ending the forever war in Afghanistan. But he is yet to do much about another, closing the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. Bureau Report WION, World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.